qualifying widow or widower for your taxes? That's what we're going to talk about here today at the Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel. I get this question a ton. This and married filing separately as well, and we'll talk about that in a different video. So don't forget to subscribe down below, thumbs up, comments, the whole thing, share the video. This is directly from the IRS website. And of course, it's painfully problematic. All right, so let's read the first sentence. I may read the first 3 paragraphs here, and then I'm going to show you why you need to dive deeper. Qualifying widow or / widower. If your spouse died in 2018, you can use married filing jointly as your filing status for 2018 if you otherwise qualify to use that status. The year of death is the last year for which you can file jointly with your deceased spouse. It's got to be clear. My spouse died in 2018. In 2019, I can no longer file married filing jointly. My spouse is dead. All right. You may be eligible to use qualifying widower as your status for 2 years following the year in which your spouse died. My spouse died in 2018. I may be able to file qualifying widower for 2019 and 20. For example, if your spouse died in 2017 and you haven't remarried, you may be able to use the filing status for 2018 or 19. This filing status allows you to use joint tax rates at the highest standard deduction if you don't itemize. It does not entitle you to file a joint return. So right there, you're saying, all right, cool. Husband dies. I got 2 years. I married filing jointly in the year of his death. And the next 2 years, I'm kind of a quasi married filing jointly deductions, right? Because I get the highest standard deduction and joint return tax rates. No, let's go over to e-file. The IRS will explain that to some degree in the bottom, but e-file. All right. Let's see what they say. Non-qualifying widower. Oh, let's see. Right here. Non-qualified widower. Let's see. All right. So this means you have to, well, let's just read it. Non-qualifying widower. You don't qualify as a widower. If you remarry during the year, you cannot file as a qualifying widower or widower. Neither can you file as a qualifying widow or widower if you do not have a dependent child for whom you kept at home. So you have to have a child at home to qualify as a widower, even though we think widow, Grandpa Jones died. Grandma Jones is a widow. She is not a qualifying widow. She is not. She can file married filing joint in the year for which Grandpa Jones died, but she cannot file as qualifying widowed the following year unless she has a kid at home. So let's go back to the IRS table here. Eligibility rules. You are eligible to file your 2018 as a qualifying widower if you meet all of these exceptions. Following test. You are entitled to file a joint return with your spouse for the year your spouse died. Your spouse died in 2016 and 17. Again, we're talking 2018. So it's the preceding 2 years. All right. So 2016, he died. 17, 18, you can. 2017, he died. 18, 19, and so on. You have a child or a stepchild, not a foster child, for whom you can claim as a dependent. And that's the big one. If you're Grandma Jones, you most likely don't have a child or foster or stepchild you can claim as dependent. And there it is. This child lived in your home all year except for temporary absences. And you can see temporary absences later, earlier under head of household. There are also exceptions described later for a child who was born or died during the year or for a kidnapped child. Oh, for the love of me. You paid more than half the cost of keeping up the home for the year. All right, well, again, if you don't have the child there and you're Grandma Jones, then it's not happening. Example, John's wife died in 2016. John hasn't remarried. During 2017 and 18, he continued to keep a home for himself and his child, who lives with him and whom he can claim as a dependent. For 2016, he was able to file married filing jointly. For 2017 and 18, he can file as a qualifying widower. After 2018, he can file as head of household if he qualifies. All right, so now let's go back to the e-file because efile.com. Qualifying a widower is a filing status that allows you to retain the benefits of married filing jointly status for 2 years after the year of your spouse's death. You must have a dependent child in order to qualify for this arrangement. In fact, the full name of the filing status is actually qualifying widow with dependent child. So that's why it's very confusing because we always seem to cut out the with dependent child. I'm telling you, I do too. Let's see, to give us a couple examples here. Example, qualifying widow with dependent child. Example, qualifying widower, dependent child. We already talked. There you go. I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't have a dependent child, you're not qualifying widow or widower, regardless of if you are literally a widow or widower. So keep that in mind, which again, another reason why they take advantage of the joint married filing jointly while you can, because those days are numbered. There's no other way around that. My wife will die after I do. She's a woman. I'm a man, and I'm 4 years older than her. I will die before she does, and then when she does, she will not be qualifying widower, most likely. I mean, if I died today, because of all the hot air that I spew out from doing all these YouTube videos, then she could. But it's probably not going to happen. So it's probably going to happen when we're in our 70s, 80s, 90s or something like that. And at that point, she will be a single taxpayer, and she will get hammered because of the widow's tax trap. Hope this helps. As always, if you have thoughts, questions, concerns, post them, comments, thumbs up, subscribe, share the video, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.